one of the judges that will judge the competition, both on the business plan side, when actually on the paper form, as well as the pitch competition at the very end. So I'm one of the judges that's there as well. What I do for customers specifically is I work with businesses that have annual revenue from anywhere from $1 to $2 million a year up to $40, $50, $60 million. And I am their, for lack of a better, I'm their quarterback. If they have an issue with the bank or something that they need help with, we are an advisor. We work with services, provide services for them, access to capital, things like that. So a lot of customer service, a lot of working with customers and business owners. I love what I do because I get to live vicariously through them, because I am a struggling or a frustrated entrepreneur that has never had a really good idea or the passion or the commitment to go after something that my customers do have. So I get to live vicariously through them and understand a little bit what they do day to day and how we can help with that with my experience. I've been in banking for about 15 years on the business banking side for 7, almost 8 years. So that went fast. But yeah, so I've been around a little bit and have worked with a number of different customers, a number of different types of businesses. So that's kind of what I do. What we look for with businesses, that's a big part of what they've asked me to talk about, is we just want a business owner that is committed to their company, committed to their idea, and stick to that and have a strategic plan that is ever evolving, but that they have a plan. So many companies that I work with that are doing $30, $40 million a year in revenue, we ask, hey, what's your plan for this year? Because we always talk about, hey, 2019, what are you going to do this year different? We're like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. And that's just as surprising to me. So we really like working with businesses that are well capitalized, meaning they have money, that either they have raised the money themselves, where they have revenue that they've held on to and kept in the business, that have funds on deposit, and then we provide them the services they need to run the business day to day a little bit better, cutting fees down, things like that. Money movement is huge. As you all know, I bet, how many people use Venmo or PayPal here, right? Right, and of the people who have working businesses today, you're accepting payment that way, right? Mostly, some of you, right? So that's a big part of what we do, is how do we help our clients move money faster, get paid faster, pay their vendors, frankly, slower, because if they do that, then they keep the money that they earn a little bit longer, and then their balances increase, they have more capital in the business, just controlling the flow of funds. That's a big part of what we do day to day. So cover that. We'll talk about the competition itself. Great. So I'll break that up into 2 parts. The business plan itself and then the pitch, right? So the plan itself, what we look for, and I can speak for the judges, are businesses that are ready to make money, or maybe they are in flight currently, right? We want to see a business that is active, if not fully active, at least having some sort of proof of concept. Is there a market for your business? Or is this just something, hey, I think there is, and I believe there is, but why do you feel that way? Is there something that you have, done a poll or something some research that you've done that, yes, there is a market for the business, we have an opportunity to make money out of this. And then the financials. This is going to be the hardest part you're going to work through on your business plan, is the financials, but it's probably the most important part. Is how are you going to make money? Because we are looking at this as we are investing in the business. If I had $10,000, would I give it to you? And would I feel like I'm going to get repaid in X period of time? So is that $10,000 going to equate to X amount of dollars in revenue over the first 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, right? We want to understand those financials, and we want to understand what that looks like. And a little bit of that's going to be some guesswork, but that should be a very small part of it. Talk to people in the industry that you're in. Maybe that doesn't always apply anymore because there are so many new industries that are new and different, but try to do your best to get contact to someone who has been in business and say, hey, do these look right? Do my assumptions look right? If you're selling something, how are you pricing yourself? what are your costs of goods sold? What's your margin? Those things. Make sure those things are realistic. If you tell me, hey, we want $10,000 and by the end of year one, we're going to have a profit of $500,000. I'm going to ask a question, how'd you come to that? And if you can say, this is exactly how it's going to happen, and you have the proof and you have the information, you say, this is why I feel that way, this is who I've talked to, and this is why it's realistic, who am I to say you're wrong? But if you say, I think, then that's a different conversation, right? That's a different thing we're going to have a conversation about. So, so those are the big things on the business plan itself, is that as the financials and the feasibility of the business itself, feasibility and how close you are to market. When it gets to the pitch, be passionate and be practiced, right? And you know, just do it until you can do it in your sleep. You're going to have 3 to 5 minutes, right? 2 minutes, and then 5 minutes for questions. 5 minutes for questions. You got 2 minutes. If you can practice something and get it down for 2 minutes, try not to use a cue card of some kind. If you've ever watched Shark Tank, the people that grab the attention of not only the viewership, but the sharks are the people that are practiced, that have a pitch that is concise, and you know exactly what they're pitching and what they're looking for. And be passionate about it. You got plenty of time to have nerves beforehand and nerves after. You're in the moment, there's no reason to be nervous. What's the worst thing that's gonna happen? You're gonna screw up and you're gonna look like a fool. But why is that bad, right? It's not bad. It is not a bad thing. Everybody is going to fail, especially entrepreneurs. You're going to fail, but you have to be selfish with what you have. So any opportunity you have to learn, you gotta take something out of it. Be selfish with it, right? I have a boss that told something to me one time, because has anybody ever gone to a meeting and they're like, I don't know why I'm at this meeting, it doesn't help me, I don't want to be here, right? So I worked with a guy that always said that. And I went to my boss, I was like, this guy, I don't understand him. And he's like, it's because he never takes notes, he never raises his hand, never puts anything into the meeting, and so he never gets anything out of it. So every meeting I go into, every opportunity I go into, I'm really selfish about it. Like, I'm gonna take something out of this, and whether or not that's a good thing, a bad thing, I'm gonna take something out of it for me. So even if you get up there and you just bomb, you still made it to the end. A lot of other people didn't, right? So what are you gonna take out of this experience of making the next piece better, right? This is a journey about entrepreneurship. It's not just winning this competition, right? It's a journey on your journey, and your entrepreneurship journey. So that's what I would just hope when you get to that point. If you can pitch, remember that you know what? I got no reason to be nervous because I already beat a bunch of people. I've already won. Now let's just go have fun with it, right? So that's a little bit about that. Questions? And it's 10 pages or under. And so for this competition, 10 pages or under. And so that is going to feel restrictive to some of you, and it's intentional, because what we want is we want you to boil down your idea to its root cause or its core. Because in years past, we've had people that get to the pitch part, and even in their business plan, before we've limited it to the 10 pages where, it may have been a restaurant, I'm not sure, but I think it was a restaurant. The person wanted to have a restaurant, but they wanted to be able to do takeout and catering and fast casual and this thing at a food truck. And so that could be the idea, that could be the growth plan and where they're gonna go. But for this competition, what we really want is, what is the idea? What is the core? And that is going to feel, for people that are entrepreneurs, and you're sitting in this room, so you probably are, that's gonna feel very restricted, but it's intentional. So just understand the thought process as to why, and just and get in that mindset. It's okay to have other ideas, I hope you do, but for this competition, boil that down and get really good at that one thing, because that's the one thing you're gonna pitch at the end. So that's what I would say about that. So with the business plan itself, we're not gonna be able to see a prototype, but for the pitch part, Oh, there are restrictions on what we can have. There cannot be anything technologically based. So no PowerPoints, no demos of that. But if you're building something, I think the winner last year was Woodworker, right? Yeah, beautiful stuff. It was gorgeous. But yeah, he had stuff there that he had built and he brought to show. He didn't give any of them away. We love when you get free stuff as judges, but he still won, so it's not a negative, right? So yeah, so if you have things to show, definitely.
So what was that question?
I didn't, again, right? Can you bring prototypes or different things there to the, right, for the pitch part? Yes. On financials, they can be anywhere from, obviously we want to be, in the first year, you want to be as close as you can. You want to base it on real information that you find, that you've uncovered. But obviously, as you get farther out in that projections, if it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's just like anything else like that you're looking at. The longer the vision out, it's going to be a little blurrier. So we're not going to hold you to that. But once again, if it's a ridiculous, so not that, but if it's an astronomical number or something that just doesn't make sense way out here, then there may be a question that's posed there. So yeah, so I would say as close as reasonable in the first year or two. But here's the thing, we are not experts in your business, right? The business, well, maybe they are, I don't know. We have a number of business people that are going to be the judges. Maybe they're in the industry you're looking to be in. So maybe they will have a really good understanding of what that margin should look like or your financials will look like. So if you're off, you don't know who's gonna be sitting on that judges panel. So they could, I don't wanna say call you on, they would pose a question to you to prove it. But just like I said before, if the financials make sense to you and you have a reason why they are that way and you can express that, then who are we to say you're wrong?
So reasonable history.
Reasonable history, yes. Yeah, we want to base that in some sort of fact and that you can reference back to, if that makes sense. Good? I would recommend going to the marketplace to find a source or a mentor, someone to bounce that off of and to get an understanding of what does that look like in terms of, are my estimates reasonable, right? Or what I'm looking at in my guesswork, because a lot of it is guesswork, and my assumptions, are they accurate or based in fact? Yes. I would try to find someone that is in the market that you're in that you'd like to get that information from and validate that. And then document that in that business plan. Or like if you have confirmed this number, reference it or put it in there somewhere on something that states that you have referenced it and where that information came from, right? And entrepreneurs like to talk, right? So unless you're gonna be like a true change maker, someone who's gonna disrupt like the industry, which may jeopardize their business, but for the most part, if you say, hey, I'm a student, I wanna get into this business, you're a name that has come up many times. I'd love to just pick your brain for half an hour. I'd love to bring you a cup of coffee in your office or something like that, right? As an entrepreneur, you're gonna do stuff like that that's gonna put you outside of your comfort zone. Pick up the phone, shoot an email to someone, just say, ask. Once again, what's the worst that's gonna happen? They're gonna say no, right? And now you move on to somebody else. So yeah, I would highly recommend getting out there and talking to someone in the industry that you're working in. Okay, yeah, so it can be a team event with a minimum of 50% ownership of the company being students, and then at the end, the pitch can be up to 2 people pitch, and both students. You cannot pitch if you're not a student. There you go. If it is a logical growth in the business for product lines, this is my opinion once again, that it's the business, to necessitate the business to be successful and to continue to grow, you have to have new product lines. You could put those out there in years to come and what that is, but But what I would say is, what is the existing product today, and get really good at that and understand that inside and out. And then if the next logical evolution of that is another product line or something like that, then you can include that in your future projections. But I think I would be, once again, hopefully this is coming across. If you have support for your assumption and a reason why it makes sense for your business to do this, and you can convey that in 10 pages or less in a business plan and then convey that to us at a pitch, who am I to say you're wrong, right? But once again, if you can convey that in 10 pages or less in a 2-minute pitch, because what we don't want you to do is feel like I'm so restricted because I have all of these ideas. That's what we're encouraging you to boil it down, get it to that number, or to that amount, and then if it's logical to include that, then bring that in. And you will have question and answer time. If you get to the pitch, there's 5 minutes of question and answer, which a good pitch person at any time can use a question to make another point, right? If we ask you a question about X, if you're quick on your feet, you can answer the question and lead to something else, right? So you have an opportunity to add other information in there. They might not want me to say that, but you can. As a pitch person, you have other opportunity. The way you answer a question, there's a skill and an art to that, right? And I think there's going to be pitch coaches that are going to help you with that as well. There's a skill and an art to that piece, right? Because look, I answered your question and said a whole lot of other things that was not your question, right? It's the same basic principle, right? Cool. Sure. So the question is, how do we level set within this process? How do, as judges, we judge people that are in different stages of their business, right? From in-market selling, prototyping, very early on, right? So how do we do that? So that is a tricky part for us. What you said there about the proof of concept, that's very important for us because you may not have sold anything, and you may not have anything to go to market with in the next 6 months or 12 months or whatever. But for what we are looking for is, have you done the research in the marketplace that there is a place for you in the marketplace? Is there a differentiating factor that you're trying to build in your product or the thing that you're building? Are you on a path to a prototype, right? So in years past, we have given awards to people have gotten to the end to go build a prototype, right? So we understand that you're all on different stages of that journey, right? You are, and we understand that. We want this to be a part of that journey. So whether I'm at prototype phase, I have a proof of concept, but I don't have the funds to go build a prototype. So tell us do the business plan based on where you are. What is the request of funds? What you're looking for in investment? And this is what it's going to mean to me to get me on my journey, and this is what it's going to be eventually in terms of growth for the business. So I would not discourage you from entering into the competition in any way. It's up to us to get to the end, and when we have our however many people that pitch to us, we will then say, and it's a very open and honest conversation. We all sit in a room, they give us nice fruit and crackers and cheese, it's great, and water, and we sit there for a half an hour to an hour and just say, okay, put everybody's name up on a board that is pitched to us, and say, okay, what is the ask for every single person? I'm pulling the curtain back a little bit, whether they want me to or not, I am. Writing it all down, and then saying, what does each individual business, what impact can we make on them? This person, this business, they requested $2,500 because they're going to go build something because they need to execute this. They've done the proof of concept, they have the marketing research done, they know all of this information, but they need X amount of dollars to go build something and have it done to then go to market from there. So then we say, then obviously that makes sense for us. So that puts it back to us as the judges to say, what's the best impact we can have on those businesses. And that is the appropriate place to add it into a link or something that you want to reference for us within the business plan. What I will say is, do not link a Google Docs that has 100 pages for us to read, because we won't read it. It won't. But if you want to reference something like, hey, I have this, I want to reference this, this is what I'm looking at, this is the research I've done, or something like that, you can reference that. I would say you could put links and things like that in there, correct? Correct, yes. We hope that there is some level of external funding, whether that is from yourself, from other investors, or what. This is not Shark Tank, we are not taking a percentage of ownership in your business, right? So we are, every business has its own funding journey, right, of anything, right? So we hope that there is some skin in the game as the entrepreneur. So you have put money into the business, right? So if you have already secured external funding of whatever, then include that in your business plan. We are on that, we have this, and this is what we have done. It's actually a great way for us to understand, hey, you've already brought on $5,000, and this is what I've used it for to make X, right? So, and this is the revenue that I have. But it also does not impact on how we award funds at the end. Sorry, I hit the mic, I apologize. You can't hear it, but the people on that can. So at the end of it, when we award funds, everything is taken into account. So if you are well funded and you have raised $100,000, whatever, right? And that you're in business, and we feel like you've asked us for 15, right? And then we have somebody else that has not raised anything, but it asked for the same amount, right? We're going to take that into account. We're going to put the money where it can do the best good and make the biggest impact. Sometimes that is to someone who is in business and they need one piece of equipment or what. So know that we are people, we're humans. We're going to do the best we can to impact the most amount of people with the pot of money we have been allotted. It's the first time. It's the only time we ever get to really play Santa Claus, so we get to do that. But you have to earn it. It's not just we don't give it. So hope that makes sense. For our purposes, no. I mean, it's not, wherever you raise capital, however you raise that capital, it doesn't impact how we view it in terms of that. It's, once again, it's anything that, however you account for that within your financials, do so. Okay.
What we ask, we say no strings attached, we ask for feedback. So we want you to check in with us every 6 months. We want to know, have you spent that money? How have you spent that money? What impact is that having on your business? How is your business doing? So we ask to see your financials. We want a little bit of an update from you, but you do not pay this money back. I will say, just to be clear, because the first time this happened to somebody, they were surprised by it. It is taxable income, so it is seed funds. So be very careful. If you already have a tax ID for your business, great. If you don't, you're going to use your social security number, you're going to get 1099, you're going to report this as taxable income. So you want to make sure that you put a little set aside to be able to pay the income tax on that. A couple things I want to clarify that
Please do.
Andrew mentioned. He talked early on about your assumptions. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to be able to articulate in writing your assumptions. The restaurant that Andrew was talking about made a big assumption about their profit. And so when we went back and said, okay, so what is your average check per person? And how many times are you turning your tables in a day? What are your assumptions that led you to believe that your restaurant was going to make that kind of money? There should be a formula for every business. How many websites are you hosting or creating? How many blue photo bus gigs are you booking? How many heads are you serving at a catering event? How many fish tanks are you servicing, right? Everybody has a formula for their business. Know your business. Know that formula, know those assumptions, and put that in writing. Because it shows that you've done a little bit of research. As far as going back to your sources, you have access to great resources. Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation, AAEDC.org, has all the demographic data you could ever hope for in Anne Arundel County. Income levels, household sizes, new builds, all kinds of stuff. And then here at Arundel Community College in the library, there's a database called Demographics Now. And I lay awake and dream about what we could run through Demographics Now. You can put every assumption you could possibly dream of. If you go see one of our research librarians and you say, could you help me do research using Demographics Now, they're going to do a happy dance to show you. But just as an example, I had a guy who wanted to start a carpet shampooing business. And he made assumptions about where he was going to locate that. And then we started to break it down, and I said, well, who are you assuming you're selling to? He's like, I'm gonna sell to families, people who have a lot of kids and dogs and yards. Great, well, the zip code you just locked in on, now let's run it through Demographics Now. It was a bunch of single households and a lot of condominium units. Probably not the market he was looking for necessarily, right? So, and you can get, it'll give you average age, average income, average education, you name it, all the things that you really want to know about who you're going to be selling to. So that's very, very important. The other thing for you to know, you may insert links to external things, a video, maybe the sources that you're citing. Do not count on the judges following those links. You can entice them with a little bit of a teaser that says, the greatest video of all time, it follows this link, come on my journey, and maybe they're gonna go, but if you do a snooze fest lead, they may not click on that, right? And if they do click on it, and it is a 20-page document, they're not gonna read it. But if it's a quick 30-second commercial, we had one of our first pitch winners. These guys had a drone video business. Gosh, Spencer, that was like 6 years ago, right?
I think so.
But they did a nice link. They do really cool photography. They were doing stuff for Travis Pastrana. So that's what he said. See Travis Pastrana in action. He showed the action video that he and his team did, right? So it was cool. It was a fun video. He enticed them to go watch it. Boom, it was magic. Everybody loved it. So you can do that. You get to upload an appendices. So you're going to do your financials as an appendices, and you get one other. If you're a restaurant, maybe you're going to put your menu, or you're an artist, maybe you're going to put pictures of your sculpture or whatever art you do. But you get two discretionary uploads, appendices for financials and appendices.
Resume.
Oh, and the resume, thank you. You must upload your resume, because guess what? The investors, they're not just investing in your idea, they're investing in you. They want to see, what have you done? Have you had leadership positions before? Have you tried and failed? Is basically what they're trying to read between the lines. What are you doing to go out in the world and meet humans and talk to people and lead people and get exposure in your industry? If you want to have your own construction company and all you've ever done is waited tables, that's a head scratcher, right? But if it shows that you've been doing summer construction work and you're going to have your own construction company, well, that's aligning a little more with where you're headed.
And so, what I would say about that is the resume, it's not just for this competition, right, for this. There's the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration, which is a big funding source for a lot of small businesses. That is a requirement for any application that you provide to the SBA is a resume. So we have to validate that you have the proper experience in the industry that you are attempting to borrow money to enter or to benefit. So please remember that is not just a check the box activity for this exercise. It's something that you will need forever, whether it is as an entrepreneur or as just an employee somewhere. Just do remember that is not a check the box activity. So spend some time on it and make sure it's solid.
A couple other things that came out of the questions. One was talking about like years in business, what should you be pitching? There is a rule that your business has to be 3 years or younger.
Okay,
so just keep that in mind. And then the other thing I want to talk about is teams. So teams are great. In fact, most businesses do work in teams. And so we really support teams. We've had teams compete successfully for years. A couple of tips with that. One is make sure going in, you determine what the division of award money will be should you win, right? Because it never works out evenly. And some people, maybe they're the founders, maybe they're the ones that really got it off the ground, and then they brought a couple other people on. So have that conversation before you even enter the competition.
It's called an operating agreement. That's that is a formal document that all businesses should have if you have a partnership. Operating agreement.
So who's doing what, and how will you divvy up the rewards for that? Also, let me define a student for you. You must be an Arundel Community College student that has been enrolled from fall semester through now. Doesn't have to be continuously. Maybe you were in a semester in the fall, but you were a student in the fall, you're a student now. You would qualify. Maybe you took classes in the fall and you already graduated and you're here saying, can I still compete? You may. And it does include credit and non-credit students, okay? We will verify. So one of the things we ask for is your student IDs when you do your submission. We go back, we check enrollment. So we do the trust but validate. We encourage all of you to trust but validate. We trust and we validate as well. Last year, when it was like, okay, what do we want to award everybody? We had 9 finalists, and I think that they said they were up to like $248,000.
A bunch of money.
Yeah, you guys, that's not going to work. We have $50,000 to work with, and so he's not kidding. When my job is to corral them, to make decisions and get them back to announce it, everybody's anxious to hear, and they're in there being so thoughtful about the impact. So one of the things you can do in your submissions, make it easy for them to understand how the award is going to impact your business.
Yeah, what does it mean to you? And put it in dollars and cents, really. I mean, if you're asking for $10,000 to buy a truck, what does that truck do for your business, right? How much will that make you in terms of the benefit to the business in the next 6 months, 12 months? What is the revenue production off of that?
So, Dalton, do you want to share, you had volunteered before, and so I'm just going to tap on you if you don't mind coming on down for a second. So Dalton had offered before, and as president of the Entrepreneurs Club, he's an awesome leader as well, but he offered to answer any questions, kind of share the presenter's perspective. We've looked at it from the organizer perspective, from the judge's perspective. Why don't you share from the presenter's perspective? Take a couple minutes.
All right, well, good afternoon, evening, everybody. My name is Dalton Leonard, for anybody that does not know. I'm owner of Fantasy Aquariums, where Annapolis is leading aquarium design, installation, and maintenance company. I presented here in 2018 spring, and I actually won the business pitch competition, 10 grand, along with a Ratcliffe scholarship and the amazing mentorship that's here at Arundel Community College, which has allowed me to propel my business even further. But back when I did this competition, we weren't as big as we are now. I was able to take that $10,000 and I was able to turn it into a new van that allowed us to get around the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area that we've expanded to more efficiently. So, as a presenter perspective, now that you've known I've gone through this process, I've actually won a bit of seed funds along with a scholarship to return, I'll tell you kind of what that experience was like. And just like each one of you sitting in here, I said, oh no, I'll do it next year. Oh no, I'll do it next year. Oh no, I'll do it next year. But the thing is, there's no time that's better than now. And for any of you that are saying, oh no, I'll do it next year, I encourage you to submit your business plan this year. If anything, you'll get amazing feedback on it and you'll be more prepared for the following year when you submit and you pitch in front of all the judges and win your seed funds. Pitching is a lot of fun for somebody like me who likes talking to people. But for other people that are nervous, the best thing that I can encourage to you is to pitch to your coaches, pitch to your classmates, pitch to your professors, and pitch to anybody that's willing to listen to you. I would go down the road driving to campus every Tuesday and Thursday, pitching to myself as I turned off the radio and I was at a stoplight. Yeah, everybody probably thought I was crazy, but that's how I got my pitch down. To me, that was one of the most important things because I know, even me, I would get nervous in front of all the judges. So the best thing I can say for the pitch part is to rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. Now, anybody that has ever been inside of a class with me will know that my weakest link is my ability to write. So how did I write a 10-page business plan and get into the finalist category? Well, I'm going to tell you. I wrote it ahead of time. I had a bunch of friends proofread with me. I used Grammarly software to go through and catch some errors. That would have been very embarrassing if somebody saw. But I went as far to go onto the Facebook Marketplace and ask if anybody inside of the community was willing to go over my business plan and tell me what they thought. And surprisingly enough, I had people write back. Most embarrassingly, I had my clients for the fish company write back and say that they were willing to review it to send it over to their email addresses. So when I encourage you to pitch, it's not as somebody that is a very strong writer and a very well-spoken person. It is somebody that has these insecurities as well and sat in that seat and said, no, I'll do it later. No, I'll do it later. So with that, I hope it weighs more than a grain of salt when I tell you to do your business plan this year, to pitch inside of this competition, and to submit your documents. Because here at AACC, you have many resources to help you to do so. Come into the hatchery, talk to other entrepreneurs about your business, and get it started. And I'll be there to help you along the way. Thank you.